I'm certainly not been a lawyer. Mike, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a smoker. I'm not a smoker. I don't know Scottish law. Now, I'm not a climate scientist. I'm not an active participant in the talks. I'm not a law enforcement official. I think that was, as I said, I don't. I'm not a Chinese historian. I'm not in editorial meetings at CNN. I'm not an expert in the classification process. I'm not a scientist on this. I'm not a spokesperson for BP. Look, I'm not a lawyer.
And neither am I.
Right. I'm, besides not being a classification expert, I'm not a sentencing. I'm not a judge familiar with sentencing guidelines or an attorney. I'm not a document veracity person. I am not a legal scholar, but I'm not a judge or have a legal degree. Again, I'm not a parliamentarian. I'm not a parliamentarian, Jake. I'm not a parliamentarian. I'm not a vote counter on Capitol Hill. I'm not a budget expert major because I'm not the Speaker of the House. And I'm not an economist. I'm not nearly as young and hip as... Yes.
Clearly.
I'm not a cynical person. I'm not the budget director. I'm not an insurance company broker. I'm not a member of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee. I'm not a member of the committee. I'm not a good person to tell you when spring ends or when it begins. Go on The View to talk about whatever the hosts on The View ask the President of the United States. I don't doubt that... I'm not a regular watcher. I'm not a health IT expert. I'm not a health IT expert, so I apologize. I'm not a member of the House. I'm not so good at math. I'm not good at math. That's why I'm here. I'm not like the Department of Math. I'm not a journalist, and I play the spokesman on TV. And I'm not running for anything in the White House Correspondents Association. I'm not the special master on press questions. You guys can ask what you want. I know I'm not an economist. I'm not part of the negotiating team up here. I'm not a public health spokesman. I'm not a contracts lawyer. I happen to also not be a constitutional lawyer, mostly because I'm not a lawyer at all.